So, wow, today has definitely been interesting. We got those big patch notes for Outriders and then the rebalancing of the game, which has already been done. A lot of people are super disappointed in the nerfs, especially with the Trickster. But most notably, I have to let you guys know about this immediately. There was an update to the game, which of course is right here. It says Historian, Bounty Hunter, and Monster Hunter quests no longer grant legendary items for each subsequent completion. Now, the way this is worded is so poorly right here. It has been confirmed 100% if you go through the entire quest line and do all of it, you still get your legendary reward when you turn them all in. So that is super noteworthy. You're still getting legendary rewards, but it is nerfed in the sense you cannot do the exploit. So they got rid of the exploit. But we're going to be talking about that. We're going to also be talking about the community reaction to the recent patch notes, rebalancing, all sorts of stuff. So let's dive in. Hey everyone, what's happening? Open World Games here. Hope you're doing good. And let's do this. We're going to go to the community and see how you guys are reacting to the recent blog post. This is from Jordan K, who says this: so cheaters get to keep all their hundreds of legendary weapons and ruined it for everyone now because they've removed legendary weapons completely. And he highlights, of course, this right here, which I just mentioned, that Historian, Bounty Hunt, and Monster Hunt quests no longer grant legendary items for each subsequent completion. So basically what they did is they nerfed the exploit, of course. Now, if you go in and you complete all of the quest line, you will still be rewarded a legendary. Of course, you just won't be able to exploit it like we used to be able to, I guess you would say. Now, Bobby Singer asked the same questions. As a single player and someone who hasn't even obtained my first legendary, you guys just made me feel way more unenthusiastic about getting done those beast and bounty quests done, knowing that my chances for getting a nice legendary payoff aren't happening. And they responded saying the changes only apply to subsequent playthroughs. So that is super noteworthy. I think they need to expand upon this in a new post immediately. Like, they need to get the posting, let people know that you can still get a legendary reward if you complete all the quest line together for, you know, your bounty hunts, etc. So I think they have to post something new and updated related to this one, because I have seen so much confusion from everyone. Even I was confused at first. I was wondering what in the world. I just can't imagine them getting rid of so, you know, much potential with this game. So yeah, you can still have something to grind through regarding those bounty hunts and so on. But we're going to be talking about some other replies related to upcoming fixes. And also, we're going to be talking about right now the rebalancing to, of course, the Trickster, which a lot of you are super disappointed in, and I don't blame you. It actually complicates the game even further, and this needs to be adjusted once again. Now, People Can Fly have officially come out and said, you know what, this is the first adjustment we're going to be doing. We're going to be doing further adjustments down the road. Now, we do have this right here from him, Cole Himmer, who says this: so where's the aim acceleration issues? Thought we were going to getting those controller options. Game feels terrible to shoot, which, you know, it's kind of clunky in some areas. Square Enix says this will be in the follow-up patch, so that's going to be releasing eventually, of course. Now we're going to be talking about this post right here. It's one of the most upvoted posts out in the community right now. It says, "Dear People Can Fly." This comes from local ad 2603. It says, I just got done reading the patch notes balancing section. Quite the disappointment. Let's take a real hard look at what exactly this game is, because through that it will become evident that nerfing has almost no place here. The game is not competitive per se, but rather a seemingly solo-focused PvE experience where players push themselves to beat NPCs. I know that this game was supposed to be focused more on co-op play. Unfortunately, due to instability, poor matchmaking, and horrible scaling, most players don't want anything to do with each other. Now, because the co-op aspect is mostly lost so far, combined with the lack of leaderboards, PvP, or anything that pins players' progression against each other, nerfing becomes unnecessary. Why? Because there's literally zero harm done to anyone if something is abused, overpowered. That doesn't mean we should ignore imbalances, but rather buff underperforming aspects of various classes. And that's something I've heard time and time again. You guys want buffs. You don't want nerfs, and you don't want a repeat of Destiny. And of course, we look to, you know, the Division, which actually did a similar thing. So, yeah, that I think, you know, they need to consider backing off of the nerfs going forward for sure. Now, let's keep going, shall we? Now, he goes on to say this: because the co-op asks, we already read that one. He says, I don't care if Frankie, the 12-hour-a-day YouTuber, spent 2 days straight exploiting legendaries. His progression has absolutely nothing to do with me. The only way it could disrupt my progression is if he joined me via matchmaking, which he can't because no one likes how groups currently perform and turn their network to private to prevent such a thing. Now, additionally, nerfing actual abilities makes little to no sense. The problem with the bullet builds is that not only are they too powerful, it is that alternatives are incredibly weak. Yeah, that's the issue. No one wants to play with the alternatives. Now, why would I play a half-baked build that scales at half the rate of the firepower bullet builds? The way you nerf them also has a trickle-down effect on the underperforming classes because your approach to these nerfs was terrible. What you guys did was nerf the only viable route to solo gold 15s. Yeah, so the biggest issue with this also is you're making the Trickster much more weak. And you're also, what they also did was nerf the timer, or they didn't nerf it, they actually made it more difficult to finish those expeditions. So now you have a double increase, in my opinion, with the difficulty with expeditions, making it even harder to complete them because you've made a weak Trickster build, and then you've also decreased the timer. So I don't think that was a wise idea. In fact, a lot of you guys want to see the timer removed. Honestly, for now, that should be an option. They need some sort of option regarding the timer and rework that system. Perhaps that will be something they look into for a very big update. I'm talking about DLC because the timer is actually built into the reward system, and it's not just like, oh yeah, we can just remove the timer. It's simple. It's not going to be a simple fix for the expeditions, unfortunately. All right, so let's keep going. We got some more bug reports here from No Application 8347. He says, what about the bug when you ran a mission interact with objects that you have 60 FPS? I mean, my game runs smooth on 120 at uncapped, but if I interact with anything, my FPS decreased to 60 and I have to press escape or inventory to uncap the FPS again. They did confirm this. This is Square Enix. They said, this is a known issue, but I don't think the fix will be in the upcoming patch as we had to slim down this patch to get it out faster. The bug you're describing should be fixed as part of a later patch. So there is confirmation. So they actually did have to scale down the patch. It seems like they were hoping to have a lot more in this patch, but it seems like that is not going to be the case. Now, this is another interesting discussion right here. It says, dear people can fly, no live streamers do not represent us or our progress. Nerfing builds is a terrible idea. Once again, Super Chan sounds off, and a lot of community upvote for this one. It says, to be more specific, I'm referring to class abilities in particular and nothing else. Fixing class abilities is the wrong way to go about it. It's the mods. The mods are what's pushing these content creators to soloing all the in-game stuff. You adjust the mods and problem solved. Not to mention making legendaries more difficult to obtain will hurt progress, as certain legendary mods are the reason certain people haven't been able to push so far in solo. Now, there's no live streamers who have already soloed Eye of the Storm for content do not represent the majority of the community. The majority being people with full-time jobs, family obligations, and a lot more stuff going on in real life. Yeah, so a lot of people are really, that are covering the game are pretty obsessed with playing the game 24/7 non-stop. It is absolutely crazy. And yes, they do not represent the entire community. However, I think people can fly. They're worried that people are going to take advantage of these exploits, and it's a shame that it was communicated in such an unclear manner with regards to the monster hunts, the bounty hunts, and that sort of thing. Now we have an unpopular opinion. The devil's advocate here, MVV Raz, says, unpopular opinion, the nerfs aren't totally uncalled for. Oh boy. He says, I don't play Devastator now that we got out of the way. I logged into this evening and I suddenly was getting my ass handed to me on CT 15 after clearing them decently, comfortably early today. So I checked Reddit and it all clicked. Now to my point, game came out a week ago and I'm clearing the highest difficulty content there is in solo mode, supposed to be harder, while missing literally every single tier 3 essential for my build mod. I know that bullet builds don't really have as many essential mods as AP builds, but clearly the highest content with heavy mediocre gear several days into the game just means I'll be bored with the game within a week or two tops. Now, the silver lining, I found this post interesting, says, what I am heavily encouraged by is the fact that People Can Fly have shown that the game development and balancing will continue and that what we have isn't all we're getting. There is definitely space in the market for a good looter and shooter, and if they play their cards right and maintain this transparency, Outriders could be it. Now sit back and give them a little time. I agree with this one. You know, they've done so good so far, and I think they want to do right by the community. So if they do have a follow-up post as to what has happened, I will let you guys know. Now they say this, it's literally just been a week since release. Server issues have been resolved ASAP, but rebalancing is a pretty complicated matter in every game. Give them several weeks to collect some data, see what works with gear, see what works without gear, and then expect serious balancing. Honestly, I don't even see this patch as a balancing update. It's basically a hotfix for a build that was heavily overperforming with no real gear required. Oh boy, shots fired at the Trickster right there. Do you guys agree with this statement? Now also, this is a follow-up, and you know, developing games like this one in particular with nerfs, buffs would be super complicated. Here's an interesting reply to this thread. It says, fact of the matter is nerfing 2 Outriders is easier, simpler, and requires less time than tweaking everything else to bring it in line. To do a massive buff or everything else, you would need to tweak essentially everything that would not influence rounds build in some way, and that's a hard ask. Hopefully there is more reworking on the horizon, and I hope this is a well communicated iterative process. Now it's interesting, so they can go several ways with rebalancing. They can either bring down of course the Trickster to the level it's at now, and the way they would actually rework the game is perhaps also bringing down the enemies, and then every class would feel as powerful as one another. That's another thing they could potentially do. I have no idea if that's easier to do that versus actually adjusting every single class to match the overpowered abilities of the Trickster. What do you guys think they should do? It's a tough one for sure. Now, you know, a previous franchise, or franchises I should say, have been through this already, which of course is Destiny and Division. This is from Shova, who says, from someone who has spent thousands of hours in Destiny, Division, Diablo, please do not go the way of Bungie and just nerf everything we love to use. So nerfing, I think, is off the table for people who can fly. I think they're going to learn their lesson with this one going forward. All right. You know what time it is. It's time for your top comments. Remember, leave a comment down below. It could end up right here in a future video. So let's do this. All right, the last video I did was the big news update is here. Free legendary gift, crossplay news, patch notes. Remember, there is going to be that free legendary gift you can obtain, you know, because of launch issues. So that's going to be something I'll keep you guys up to date about and how that's going to be working. Now, Isaiah says we need some more skill points to play more in the trees. Yeah, that would be actually really cool to see as well. But I think the current system forces you to think, you know, where you want to specialize. Lamar's Price says, so they nerfed everyone's character, but I'm just sitting here as a Devastator going, still can't kill anything. Brad Heyman says, so Trickster is already a glass cannon build. Now you reduce the cannon, but keep all the glass. Smart move. So KHC says, so hope that buffs would have been in the works. Yeah, I thought for sure they were going to be a little bit more in tune to the community, but I think they wanted to get this patch out quickly. And again, working on widespread buffs is going to be a ton more work and could offer potentially more controversy as well. So I think they just winged it and tried to get something out as soon as possible, and then sat back and checked out your reactions. I'm probably going through posts right now to see what's going on, but let's see here. Let's keep going. Stereo says, this is called a nerf the F out of everything update. I'm done with this game already. Rob K says, we didn't even get to make it a week before they nerfed us. Gosh, dang it. Market says this, imagine sweating bullets while reading the bullet-based nerfs. Couldn't it be me? Drew Cadell says, I just feel like they should have let most of the players get to the end game before trying our nerfs. So yeah, there is that assessment right there as well. Alrighty then, so thank you all so much for watching. Stay tuned for more Outriders news and updates, and of course other open world gaming goodness news, because we should be getting some. We are in April, so hopefully we get something really cool. But thank you all so much for watching. Stay tuned for more, and I will see you all next time. Take care.